Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here today because we're unpacking a truly fascinating topic. It's one that sits right at the intersection of digital privacy, business operations, and technology architecture. Today, we're diving deep into a comprehensive 2026 guide published by Send.win. It takes a really close look at GoLogin and the broader multi-account management industry. We're going to break down exactly how these tools work, look at their evolution, and explore the future of digital identity.
But first, I've got a simple question for you right off the bat. Is clearing your cookies actually enough to stop tracking? Well, for a long time, the answer was yes. But the reality today? Platforms like Facebook, Amazon, and Google track way more than just your cookies. If you're still relying on just clearing your browser history to maintain separate digital identities, you're unfortunately bringing a knife to a gunfight.
Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. The digital fingerprint problem, GoLogin's technology, desktop limitations, the cloud-native shift, and finally, use cases and safety. We've got a real evolutionary battle between traditional software and modern cloud innovation to cover today. Section 1. The digital fingerprint problem. You've probably heard the term browser fingerprinting, but what does it actually mean? It's essentially the collection of dozens of hardware and software signals to build a unique, highly trackable digital identity. And if you're an e-commerce seller or an agency owner managing multiple accounts, listen up, because this is exactly how platforms catch you. They aren't just looking at cookies. They look at your operating system, your screen resolution, the specific fonts installed on your computer, and even how your graphics card renders 3D images. They bundle all that data together to form a unique fingerprint. When that exact same fingerprint shows up across 5 supposedly unrelated accounts, the platform links them together, and boom, you risk getting banned. Section 2. Inside GoLogin's Antidetect tech. To fight this, we got traditional solutions. Think of GoLogin like a highly sophisticated digital disguise. Instead of trying to block platforms from seeing your signals, which, by the way, actually makes you look incredibly suspicious, GoLogin intercepts and modifies those signals. It manipulates your user agent string to spoof your operating system, alters your Canvas and WebGL fingerprints so your graphics card looks totally different, and changes your screen resolution. It even perfectly matches your time zone to your proxy location and handles WebRTC to stop your real IP address from leaking. It's literally feeding the tracking algorithms a perfectly crafted fake identity so you look like a completely different person. So, under the hood, how does it do this? Well, GoLogin uses a modified Chromium engine. That's the exact same open source tech that powers Google Chrome. This engine isolates every single profile's cookies, local storage, and session data. Now, the 2026 guide we're reviewing notes that while GoLogin generally passes standard detection tests with flying colors, it does occasionally struggle with a few tricky edge cases. Specifically, the source points out occasional vulnerabilities with WebRTC leaks, especially on IPv6 and font enumeration. That's where the spoofed font list might look just a little bit unrealistic to highly sophisticated detection systems. Now, what's really interesting here is the pricing model, because you can really see how the business of anti-detect browsing is structured. GoLogin offers a free tier for 3 profiles and a professional tier at $24 a month for 100 profiles. That's incredibly accessible for a solo user. But notice what happens when we look at team collaboration features. To get just 10 team member seats, you have to jump to the business plan at $49 a month, and the enterprise plan doubles that again. The cost scales significantly as soon as you need to collaborate, which, as we'll see, is a major point of friction in this industry. Let's ground this abstract tech into reality for a second and walk through the actual setup experience. First, you have to download and install the software to your physical machine. Then you create your account, configure your fingerprint profile, add your proxy details to make sure your IP matches your new digital identity, and finally test it and start browsing. It's a very structured process, but pay close attention to step 1. You absolutely must install the desktop software. Which brings us to Section 3, the desktop architecture trap. 500 megabytes. Actually, let that sink in for a second. According to the guide, that is the amount of RAM a single Chromium profile can consume on your local machine. If you're a power user trying to run 20 profiles simultaneously, you suddenly need up to 10 gigabytes of dedicated memory just for your browser. That crazy RAM usage highlights a massive business impact. Traditional anti-detect browsers are entirely hardware dependent. They also suffer from severe device lock-in. Your profiles live strictly on the machine where the app is installed. If your laptop breaks or you travel, you can't just easily log in from another computer. No way. You're also dealing with constant manual update overhead just to keep that Chromium engine current.
For any agency owners watching this who have tried to scale teams using local software, you know exactly how painful these team scaling challenges are. Every new employee needs a powerful machine, a complex software installation, and tedious onboarding. Section 4. The Cloud-Native Evolution. So the Send.win guide points out that the industry is undergoing a huge architectural shift. On one hand, you have the desktop-first approach of GoLogin, requiring local installation, draining your RAM, and tying you to a specific device. Contrasted with that is the cloud-native approach, championed by tools like Send.win. Because it runs entirely on cloud servers, there is absolutely zero installation required. It uses none of your local RAM, and it's completely device agnostic. You could literally run 50 profiles from a standard tablet because the cloud is doing all the heavy lifting. And this comparison brilliantly illustrates the real-world operational differences. The requirement to install software completely vanishes with Send.win. When it comes to team collaboration, where traditional models gate this behind higher-paid tiers, the cloud-native model allows for built-in collaboration because everything already lives securely in the cloud. It transforms access from being locked to a specific desktop to being available from literally any browser. Section 5. Use cases and safety. So, who actually relies on this technology? Well, for social media managers juggling client accounts, e-commerce and drop-shipping businesses diversifying their storefronts, affiliate marketers split testing campaigns, ad verification specialists, and researchers scraping data, the financial stakes of an account ban are incredibly high. For all these professions, maintaining distinct, unlinked digital identities isn't just a luxury, it's the absolute foundational requirement of their business model. But of course, with software designed to mask identity, the question of legality always comes up. I want to highlight this specific quote from the source text. Managing multiple legitimate business accounts is perfectly legal, while using them for fraud is not. It's important to remember that Antidetect browsers are neutral tools. The technology itself is legal and used every single day by top-tier marketing agencies and researchers. The line is drawn entirely by how you use the tool and your adherence to the terms of service of the platforms you're accessing. The source makes one final, really crucial distinction regarding security. When you use desktop software, your browser profiles, your session cookies, and your client data all live locally on your hard drive. If that machine is compromised, lost, or stolen, that data is highly at risk. Cloud-native solutions change this entire paradigm. Because the profiles execute in the cloud, the data never actually resides on your local machine. It keeps everything securely encrypted server-side with strict access controls for your team. We've covered a massive evolutionary shift today, from heavy desktop-bound applications to agile cloud-native solutions. So I'll leave you with this provocative question. Is your digital fingerprint holding your business back? Or perhaps more importantly, is the outdated desktop architecture you're using to manage that fingerprint the real bottleneck to your team's growth? Take a hard look at your operational security, evaluate your workflow, and ask yourself if it's time to make the move to the cloud. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.